In a busy marketplace, an old man and a young man sat by the street selling apples. The price was the same, but the old man's apples were big and red. The young vendor's apples were full of wormholes, and without noticing, he always sold short on weight. People who often came to shop went straight to the old man's stall. His apples were fresh and ripe, customers could pick their own, and the weight was always fair. When a child waved at him, the old man was never stingy. A poor child in patched clothes stared from afar, too shy to come closer. The old man saw him, called out warmly, and invited him to eat an apple. The child walked over, and the old man gave him a big apple. Because of scenes like this, passers-by compared the two stalls and chose the old man's side. Seeing his competitor's business booming, the young vendor had to adapt. First, he lowered the price. Then he rearranged the apples. He sprinkled water on them to make the surface look fresh, though the backs were full of rot. The low price and loud shouting drew many people to buy. As his business grew, the vendor lost all sense of honesty. When he saw a blind woman pass by, he tricked her into buying 2 jeans of rotten apples. Even then, he cheated her on the weight. Half a day passed quickly. The sun went down, and both men began to pack up. The vendor strung his copper coins into a large bundle and tied it tightly around his waist. The old man put his earnings into a cloth bag. They went together to the river to wait for the ferry. The fare was 1 coin per person. The vendor muttered that it was too expensive. He suggested that the boatman count them as 1 person. The old man sighed. The boat arrived. The old man paid and kindly offered the boatman an apple. The boatman refused and only took the fare. The vendor then said that 2 apples would be his payment for the ride. In this way, he managed to avoid paying for the ferry. Suddenly, the river became choppy and the boat hit a rock. All 3 of them fell into the water and started swimming towards the shore. But the old man began to sink slowly. He realized it was because of the heavy bag of money. He quickly took it off and threw it away. The vendor, in the same situation, not only refused to let go of his money but also dove into the water, grabbed his money bag, and tied it around his waist again. By the time the boatman and the old man reached the shore, the vendor was still struggling in the water. In the end, the weight of the money dragged him under. When people finally pulled him out of the water, the vendor, with his last breath, felt his money bag and then closed his eyes in peace.